is running cabs for people on the board who are experts.
I did this. We're excited.
Yeah.
We're excited. We have good people working with us. While I have another partner like a FinCorp.
And your first big gig was at the Queen's College as a CIO, is that correct?
I knew that there were people at the organization that were sincere about delivery and standing behind the product.
I'm here with Naveed Husain, and I've known him for, I'm proud to say, probably like 6 or 7 years, right?
I think actually it's more than that. I think it's 8 years.
Okay. Well, I don't want to grow up too fast. So a fun fact that I didn't know about you is that you went to Africa and the Middle East as a UN peacekeeping ops. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations. That's where I really got my chops. It was probably the best experience of my life, right? Zagreb, the Middle East, Palestine, Israel, Somalia, Rwanda, Mozambique. Ethiopia was my first mission. So, yeah, I was 21 years old in Ethiopia. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of learning.
Why we picked you too is that you're such a good, you're good at getting people to talk, and you're such a good diplomat. In terms of meaning, you want to bring in different people to have a conversation. But so then after the peacekeeping ops, where you left Africa and Middle East, you landed in New York, and your first big gig was at the Queen's College as a CIO. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I didn't even apply for that job. My wife did, And when higher ed does an interview, they have 6 or 8 people around the table and lots of bottles of waters. I think it's a way of interrogating you and it's seeing how long you can hold your bladder for this interview. If you can hold it for 3 hours, you can get the job. I think that was the goal of the interview.
Well,
but to be honest, actually, a lot of Queen's College experience came from the innovation from the UN experience, because in the UN, in the field, you have to be innovative, you have to be creative, because you have to come up with things and solutions in real time based on the environment and the logistics that are available to you, right? So it's the same as a CIO. You have to be creative, curious, and innovative, right? So it was a perfect fit as a job, and I was very lucky to have a great mentor, Sue Henderson and James Meiskins, and my colleague Joe Berlino at that time to nurture my growth in higher education, because I didn't know much about higher education.
While you were the CIO at Teachers College at Columbia University, and we were at Napa when I met you, and I saw you moving around like that. You were so comfortable. It was like you were, walking around talking to people, and there was Paul and Dave, and you guys were having fun, bringing everyone together and talking. You also broke the tension when people are in a cab meeting. Sometimes people are a little nervous because they don't know what to do, and the three of you were just pros. You knew how to engage, and I'm so glad that Mitch and Ryan and Dave nominated you, because we really needed leaders like you to take us from mid-market to enterprise. And I think really we are so grateful to have you, Paul and Dave, really sit down and be true advisors.
So you were actually pivoting, like a humongous transformation for this company, to understand that you're pivoting to enterprise IT. And enterprise IT doesn't just want to go reboot their modem, but they actually have an enterprise network, and things have to be reliable, and there has to be redundancy, and there's expectations on service quality, and that's where like the 5.9 reliability and trying to get the 6.9s, and the fact that RingCentral has managed to maintain a very strong 6.9s type service. Now, By the time I met you, I was already second year or third year into the CAP.
Yes. Yes.
Nita was running the CAP prior to you.
Yes.
But what was pivotal, what was different about this whole thing was the culture, the company culture that you guys brought, which was, we'll roll up our sleeves and make it work. We're going to be strong about it. We're going to stand by it. You can trust us and you could be straight with us. Like, I didn't have to be politically correct. And I wasn't very politically correct when it came to billing or outages or customer success.
Well, you held us to a high bar. You did. You pushed.
Because, in a way, it was my company too, because I had taken the risk of buying the product and convincing my constituents, students, faculty, and the administration that moving things, changing the system, right? Changing IT, making it lighter, moving it to the cloud was a better way to do it than to go build a data center and maintain all of this equipment on site and hire people, right? I actually showed an 18-month payback period, which is phenomenal, right? So you have this payback period where you're replacing 10-year-old technology that's happening in 18 months, a year and a half, right? That's what 18 months really is, right? Versus waiting 3 years before you actually see benefits of the technology and adoption and usage, right? And then on top of that, you have you're changing the concept of this being a hardware and physical solution to this is really software, and now I can do a whole bunch of other things with it where I can make things work for students, or I can send notifications to students, and I can make things available for them to communicate within the class, right, in a secure platform that was FERPA compliant, right? And meeting all of those compliances and security and the integrations with the other applications, that software beats hardware type solution, and that was exciting. And that's what David Nuss and Paul Chapman and I really enjoyed. Why did we bring other people in? Because the cross industry exchange was worth every minute of it. If we were going to spend 3 or 4 days with you guys, we don't just want to improve the product, but we want to learn from other people's experiences. And the only way you can learn from other people's experiences is if you get other people to talk, right? And share their experiences. And they need to know that it's a safe environment to share their experiences, because they don't know Vlad as well as I did at that time, or David Sipes or Mitch necessarily. Maybe everybody knew Mitch because Mitch is like the mayor of the world, right? Like, this guy is super energy. He calms everything down and makes the world just good. Right.
Wait, we got to do a shout out to Mitch. I mean, he had to defend Ring Central. He flew out with Dave Sipes, right? And he sat across your CFO and he made a promise. And
look, this is also what got me to be part of the customer advisory board, right? It's because I knew that there were people at the organization that were sincere about delivery and standing behind the product. But not only standing behind the product, but standing behind the vision of what we were going to do. Like, E911 didn't exist. The dashboard for utilization didn't exist until we at Teachers College started, building it. We built the E911 application.
We're the designers.
You guys built the dashboard for me, right? And I started using the dashboard when it was in beta, and I was told not to use the dashboard. Right? When you guys came out with it, said, don't use the dashboard. I said, no, we got to make the dashboard better, because this is how I tell how my network is doing also, right? So I was using it for, the adjacent possibilities. You build something and then the customer goes and uses it for something totally different that you didn't expect them to do, right? But that's what I mean, is that the customers would buy into an idea or an innovation, right? And why did they buy into the idea or innovation? They bought into the people, right? And they bought into the vision, and your people bought into the vision, right? But it became like this trusted relationship where we knew anything was possible, right? And if you knew that it was possible and have these customers, I mean, where did Paul Chapman come from? He came from Box, right? David Nuss came from Cressa Real Estate, right? I came
Yeah.
from the oldest college in education in the country, right? The
But you were
reputation of
educating us.
huh?
You were educating us. You were educating us around tech ed, around SaaS, around the real estate,
And
right?
it was about building a company that was ready to go to the next level, right? It was a next level company, right? You guys didn't have 30% year-over-year growth if you weren't willing to do that. And Vlad and Kira's hands-on approach to product, right? I mean, you've seen Vlad when it comes to product. He is like a perfectionist, right? Which is what we want as customers. We want somebody who's passionate about their product.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that was the culture of the company, and that's the trust that it brought. And eventually I came to work for the company, but we went from 50% small business, medium-sized business, right? Or actually 80% small, medium-sized business to 50%. And then I would say that it's now flipped, right? Like enterprise is probably bigger as a customer base than your small, medium-sized business.
Okay, I don't want to take.
That's how you pivot.
Yeah, but I don't want to take any credit. But I'm just joking about the cab. But I think the safe places were you, Renee, Gareth. You understood us, and you were breaking bread with us, and we were. You were giving us criticism, but it was very timely, and that trust that you built with us. So it seemed automatic for you to run sales, a part of sales.
Well, actually, it's funny because the cab, right? Yeah, the way you ran the cab, you, Irene, I'm gonna.
Well, and Anita beforehand. So we gotta give a shout out to Anita.
You guys were major OCD, and your agenda was tight. You didn't waste any time. You kept us on track, but you also inserted fun. So it wasn't like we were working all the time. We were, we had excellent lunches and dinners, and and great places and venues to do it at. The schedule was thoughtful and predictive, rather than, that's very important, right? Like it's that customer experience. It was a complete customer experience, right? Not only did we have input and work, so there was quality of time usage, but it was also, the quality of time in networking with each other, and networking with the executives, and networking so that we learned and exchanged ideas and just like relaxed, right? Where you don't have the opportunity to do that when you're in the middle of your normal workday and you can't think about new ideas, right? It was Mitch's idea to create the office of the CIO.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was. It was Mitch's idea, and Mitch wanted CIOs with experience, right, and innovation to go talk to CIOs in the enterprise to help convert these customers. When I first came on board, Pfizer's response was, Naveed, you're Mitch's closer, right? Like, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about sales. Mitch taught me that. But yeah, we became his closers, right? And we built industry expertise when we came on board in verticals, right? Healthcare, education, government, retail, financial services.
Absolutely.
Right? And we did that in a thoughtful way. We didn't just say, okay, we're going to go build these verticals and we're going to talk about them in that vertical language, and that'll be our vertical strategy, right? Our vertical strategy was everything from product, compliance, programmatic to marketing, right?
They buy from people, and you, Renee, and Gareth, that I remember when I was running cabs, were people on the board who are experts.
And could talk from real experience, not like imaginary. Imagine if, right? It was, I did this, and I think in the next iteration of the product, we'll be able to do this, this, and this in this industry. And we'll introduce push to talk, and we'll do this, and we'll introduce, integrations into contact center, and we'll meet the compliances. We don't have these compliances, and we need them now. We'll get those, right? How do you think that we built the integration with Data Lake, right? We needed we needed a compliance tool that helped us with e-discovery in financial services and to meet FINRA requirements. But then the same product we applied to education because we needed an e-discovery tool in education, right?
Right.
And we worked with Anthony Kresge at Data Lake to make that product a reality within our product. And that, those were the kind of ISV integrations that became real, that were sold on our paper.
Yeah.
And that comes from experience, from actually having implemented the product and worked in the industry to know what you need to make it possible. So Sugar Hill Consulting, we're a small group, a couple of former RingCentral employees, right? Dean from a university as well, right? So we and great partnerships, right? So that's the other thing I learned about RingCentral's growth. RingCentral's growth came from channel partners, and it came really, like 65% of our leads came from channel, right? But the growth in product is a growth in ecosystem, right? So in order for you to be able to scale, you have to have great partners. So one of the things I did is I have great partnerships with unified communication as service providers, contact center as a service providers. I have an excellent development partnership with Akiva Labs, who was our Salesforce developer at RingCentral, and having experience working with them as the CIO for RingCentral at one point, right? I now have them as a partner of mine for development, right? So they give me the scale and the depth of expertise in Salesforce, while I have another partner like FinCorp who does, the integrations and the design and the builds and all the technology builds and the Postgres SQL stuff, right? And that's how you scale. You don't just hire a bunch of people hoping that you get customers, but you get product, you get into deals and you get into delivery to customers, but you do it in a reliable, secure, intelligent, thoughtful manner, not promising more than you can deliver. And so Sugar Hill acts like, in a way, a GC, a general contractor type thing. But it starts with strategy and advisory, and then goes into implementation, and then it also provides managed services, but all through curated service providers, right? And at the end of the day, it's Sugar Hill's neck on the line, and it's Sugar Hill's back to pat, depending on how the thing goes, right?
Right.
So,
but I have to toot your horn, because I think the one thing that stands out for you and your team is that you really want to maximize the whole stack or the whole offering. When you go in and you're walking in, yes, your customers will have requirements and where they need and what they need implemented, but you're constantly going back and saying, you could do more with your technology. You could do more with RingCentral. This is what you can do. You can set this up. We can make it custom for you to really connect with your customers, or make sure that you're using the AI receptionist, for example.
Well,
we can
exactly, right? You got the AI receptionist, you've got the end-to-end customer care experience, you've got the bots. Let me give you an example of the bot, right? A lot of people think, we're going to deflect all our calls to bots, we're going to reduce the number of agents, we're going to save money on agents as in humans, not the automated agents, right? Not agentic AI. We're not talking about agentic AI yet, right? But when you implement contact center and you implement the integration into UCaaS, that's great, but you don't get the entire know your customer experience, right? Hyper-personalized, so that the customer care rep knows, Irene Yam just called me. She bought XYZ of product. And we also promised her on the roadmap that we're going to deliver this by Q4, right? And maybe it's being pushed out to Q1 2026. I want to be able to know as a customer care rep that these are her expectations, and this is who she is, and this is what we've done for her, and these are her top 5 complaints, and this is where we've been successful for her. Let's build a rapport, understand her needs, and make sure that she doesn't have to repeat all of those things over again, right? So we look like a coordinated company and not something that's disjointed, right? And when I go in to see, a customer, let's say PC Richards, for example, at Ring Central, right? And I'm going to go see Steve. I need to know like what we talked about with Steve the last time, what we sold Steve.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit about his children or whatever. Maybe a little bit about his interests. That rapport is very important for an executive sponsor, right? CAB makes that possible too, right? Because when you meet with them in person, you get to learn a little bit about the human side of the customer as well, right? And then the other thing is actually being able to take what you know about that person and making sure, and their company, and making sure that you have addressed those things and that those issues are not just things that show up on a spreadsheet, on a churn report or something like that, but they're actually issues to actions, right? And that we have actions around them. And as an executive sponsor, you can credibly represent your company to that customer based on real information rather than, I think it's on the roadmap. Let me get back to you. I'll get Jimmy to give you a call because he's really in charge. No, at the end of the day, you own that relationship. As that executive sponsor, you should be able to answer those questions, right?
I love that.
I have to say, the last CEO and president that I worked with, which was Mo Katiba, he was very good at getting down to those things. He was almost the Dave Sipes equivalent, right, of that type of knowledge around the customer. It was great. So those are the kind of things that you should be able to do. And that's the value add that Sugar Hill is trying to bring to the table, is give that coordinated, integrated approach. So we have a partnership with Calabrio, as a matter of fact, that allows us to do the overlay. And they have a tool called Wisdom, which helps with the deflection and the chatbot, and learning the interactions with the chatbot and improving that experience. But now with, for example, IVA capabilities in Ring Central, you can build virtual, calling paths and things like this. That makes it even more powerful, right? Dynamically. And then integrating that with your Salesforce and integrating that with your Workday, you've got a complete system that's now giving you agent scheduling, agent skills development, training, real-time, coaching, customer information, all coming into a consolidated single pane of glass type approach. That's where we need to go. That's going to be transformative. And that's what Sugar Hill is trying to help with on the university side, on the healthcare side, on the government side, and even in financial services.
That's great. Naveed, that's like the perfect company for you. I'm so glad you're leading it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. We're excited. Yeah. We're excited. We have good people working with us. And again, you have to have that culture that's sincere and true about getting stuff done and standing by your customer and standing by your commitments.
Yeah, and having fun, it sounds like, too.
Absolutely. It's got to be fun. Otherwise, why are we doing anything? I love, that you quoted me in the book, and thank you for the plaque that you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you can, I don't know if you have it, if you could share the plaque.
Right here.
Yeah, look at that.
Just shared it. Yeah. Can I read it?
So, please, could you read the quote?
So, we were at the nascent edge of technology that we changed the world. That is foundational, where the company's vision and the customer's goals are aligned to the point where the customer sees a company as the extension of his or her IT staff. That is trust. Naveed Husain, Chief Information Officer. I have a little cold, sorry that I fumbled a little bit, but that's great words. So philosophical of you. So thank you. I think we just end that way.
No, thank you for this. Thank you for the plaque. Thank you for the quote.
Well, that was Naveed Husain. We had a really in-depth interview with him. We went from his days of being 21 in Mogadishu in Africa and the Middle East, working in the UN peacekeeping ops, to being a leader at both Queens College and Teachers College, Columbia University as a CIO. And then he pivoted and he joined us at Ring Central at the time, became a sales leader, and now he's on his next journey, running Sugar Hill Consulting and bringing his knowledge of IT and people and delivery. I think for you, I just have to say, for you, when you say it, you do it. So I think that's I don't know if that's your tagline, but I do believe when you say.
I think my wife's tagline is "Mean what you say and say what you mean."
Okay.
So we could, the most influential woman in my life. So we could end on her.
Okay, we'll give
mean
her a
what you
shout out.
say what you mean.
Okay, well, I think that's a good way to end. I hope we do that. All us humans say that and do it and believe in it and
There
carry
you go.
through. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Naveed.
Take
Bye.
care.